sexy people. It is Dave, it is Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from New York based avant-garde post metal band GUHTS. The band's new album, Regeneration, will be released on January 26th via New Heavy Sounds and Seeing Red Records. Founded in 2020 as a passion project by Scott Prater from Witchkiss and Amber Burns from Witchkiss, and then Dan Schoenefeld from Black Mountain Hunger, GUHTS became its members' main focus following the release of their first EP, Blood Feather, which itself received rave reviews from the likes of Decibel Magazine, Invisible Oranges, The Obelisk, Cult Nation, and more. Brian Clemens, Sleeping, and Daniel Martinez joined GUHTS in 2022, and the band swiftly started booking tours and making plans to record Regeneration. Since then, GUHTS have steadily been making the name for themselves with their powerful live performances, sharing stages with the likes of Yob, Cave-In, Marissa Nadler, plus appearances at Maryland Doomfest, Crucial Fest, and Ohio Doomed and Stoned Fest. Regeneration is set to cement their status as one of the coolest and most interesting bands on the scene. Vocalist Amber says, Regeneration symbolises the power of self-renewal, often overlooked. Embracing it means shedding old layers and welcoming new beginnings. Without this, life stagnates and it's sustaining. Through Regeneration, change becomes empowering, allowing new facets to emerge. It's a courageous, transformative process, inspiring others to overcome fear and embrace change. The album embodies the human spirit's resilience and capacity for growth. Regeneration is 7 tracks long, about 46 minutes in length. Completely new band for me. I'm assuming you as well, because otherwise you would have probably mentioned it.
I don't always mention everything I'm listening to you, Dave. For all you know, I was writing for Decibel Magazine when that EP came. Maybe acclimated to their style, the particular brand of music.
Yeah. This is interesting. They put out one single. The one I heard was Till Death. I think it was like back in November, I think was when that one came out. And I was like, all right.
You just held that away from me and then didn't say. It's a classic, Dave.
Cool. What?
Let me listen to this really cool thing that I'll not share with Duncan. For 2 months.
I listen to about 40 songs a day, new songs, every day.
Yet you send me, check this out,
Nothing.
keep your eye on this, you do this, but just not with this band. Because you were like that. Duncan might like this. Fuck him.
Well, maybe. Maybe no.
Maybe's aye, maybe's no.
Possibly.
Right. Maybe.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I was like, yeah, this is quite doomy, quite atmospheric. This might be worth kind of digging into and finding out more about. Turns out that was just the tiniest tip of the iceberg, Duncan.
Tip of the iceberg.
Regeneration. What did you make it? I'll let you go. What did you make of
Right.
Regeneration?
Let me just put my cards on the table right now.
Right, okay.
If White Pony was a sludge doom album,
Yeah.
that's Regeneration. I fucking blew my mind on the first listen. I was like, at the end of it, I was spent. I was just like, everything that I wanted, everything that I needed. I just hope they give me. They'll just give me it. This is my tempo, Dave. This is my tempo. What I love on this is the variety and the risk. Like, this band takes risks. This band is merging, like, it's not only just instrumentation, like, and they use a lot of it, but it's specifically, it's like huge swaths of shoegaze, it's doom, it's sludge, there's like shades of industrial in here, and like in nowhere the band will go vulnerable and clean and then juxtapose that with like almost like obtrusive, like fucking standoffish, cold, like industrial, and it's just weaved so well. Like every single song, like no one song is one style, and no one song feels conventional. I don't know. It's like when the first time we listened to King Woman, I was like, this is Doom, but not like I know it. Like this is Doom, but with soul, like actual fucking physical. This is wearing the wounds on the skin.
Yeah.
And I think Guts are kind of sludgy Doom, but with. I kind of almost feel like that's a disservice calling them that. It's transcendental kind of sludgy Doom. It's taking the whole sound into space and atmosphere. I think if I'm bottling it down to the elements that I think really elevate the band. First thing's vocals. Vocals are incredible on this. She's got such a cool tone. It's kind of at times it's kind of spoken wordy, a la kind of like a King Woman thing with the kind of husk behind it. There's an aggressive shouty tone that actually reminds me of kind of early 2000s era new metal. Like those bands that would have the female vocalists that couldn't scream, so they did this kind of shouty style. Works really well over the top of their stuff. But there's also a kind of vulnerability in the melody that she uses that really becomes quite haunting. That kind of works with the production that they bring in here as well, which at times will use a little effect to kind of Chino-esque, let it float a little bit over the top. Musically, the guitars, like when they are clean and picky, they are like really full sounding and rich. But when the bands sink into being heavy, like on the opening track White Noise, or even on the majority of Handless Maiden, like it's fucking heavy. It's like cave-in heavy. You know what I mean? Just really like chunky, in the groove, fucking slotted in, no space for anything between the bass, guitar, and the drums. But then the band will just instantly throw like smart songwriting and instrumentation choices. Until Death, you get a combination of kind of almost drum machine sounds and piano, which they bring in. Handless Maiden also has the piano, which comes back at that. Like they bring it through, so it's not a one and done. The reason I mentioned White Pony means the first album where Deftones were like, we have a keyboard player, right? And he plays keyboards, and he does in almost every single song. It just changes the sounds up, and that's all over this. The attention to the composition of the album structure is also amazing. So, like, we've already spoken tonight about other bands that maybe start off in a particular vein and end up maybe quite far away from where they started, and sometimes that can maybe lose us as listeners. This one here never forgets the grounding of that kind of sludge. It always comes back to that, and by the time you get to tracks like Eyes Open, which have huge soaring choruses, it's fully underpinned with a sludgy, like almost industrial groove that is just under everything, with this King Woman-esque vocal over the top, a kind of shouty melody. Fucking amazing. Then I love the ending of this. It's a 1-2 punch of almost half the runtime of the album through Generate into The Wounded Healer, which collectively together is at almost 18 minutes in length on a 46-minute album. And the closing of this album is fucking Chef's Kiss sublime. Like when it finished, I was in awe. I fucking love this album. Like this to me is everything I love about music. Like just it's all the genres I love combined together in the best possible way. The attention to detail, the songwriting craft, the song structures, the flow of the album. I've rinsed this. I've been away for a couple of days working as well, so I've had a huge amount of time. I sleep less when I stay away from my home. I was playing this one in my hotel room, lights out, just like closing my eyes and in the cosmos listening to this, the cosmos of my brain. Regeneration might be the first serious contender. I know we're only in January, but serious contender from my top 10. This is everything I like in one album. It's fucking amazing. I love this. Let's see if you can guess what we'll grade this at the end. How did you get on with it? I genuinely can't read you right now, so we haven't had a chance to speak about it. So,
I don't think I was quite prepared for this album, to be honest. I heard that single and thought I knew what I was getting myself into. My first listen did not go the same way as yours.
Oh, really?
I finished this and I was like, what the fuck? I was just like,
and the bin with you.
My head was wrecked after that first listen. I was like, I listened to it once and then I didn't come back to it for about 3 days afterwards. I didn't know if I liked it. I didn't know if I didn't like it. I didn't know how subsequent listens were going to go. I was just
wow.
I don't know. I don't know about this album. And I think for me, that initial listen was quite a demanding listen.
There's a lot going on, yeah.
There is, but the main thing was the kind of the juxtaposing elements and sounds that this band bring together. Some of it is very jarring, very discordant, especially between the vocals and the music. They often pair quite like contradictory sounds and styles together. So I felt like on first listen, it's difficult to try and, for me, it was difficult to comprehend why or what the intention was. And it's designed in a way to keep you guessing as well as to like where things are actually going. Is this going to sound bleak? Is it going to sound ethereal and full of atmosphere? I have no idea. And for that reason, I felt like it wasn't one like I could just have on in the background. I was like, there's too much going on to have that on the background. It's something I really need to pay attention to and concentrate to try and kind of figure out what's going on and get my head around it. My second listen was a slightly easier one. I think because I was a bit more familiar with the style. And then the third listen was where something clicked on my third listen to this, and I was like, all right, okay, that's starting to make sense, and this is falling into place. I understand why they're doing that. And it's an album that encompasses a lot, like so much, like stylistically and musically. And while they don't sound like one particular band, like you, there's small things that you can reference. You'll be like, oh, that was a little bit Cult of Luna, or that was like a little bit Deftones, or Julie Christmas, or Mountaineer, or
Mountaineer in here, yeah.
Subrosa. Like, there's little things. I was like, all right, okay, I can hear bits of that, but I couldn't just say, oh, they sound like this band. You can't do that with Guts at all. Actually, I think there was a band we interviewed last year called Healthy Living. I actually think there's some similarities between Guts and that band as well. Guts maybe get a bit heavier on the doom side of things, but they both have a fairly kind of diverse kind of like collection of sounds, almost in a kind of avant-garde type way as well. But that the kind of the assortment of doomy, sludge-laden kind of post-metal, it sounds huge on Regeneration. And that opening track, White Noise, just like it hits you straight away. But in amongst that, you've got this like more kind of delicate side that, as you said, is more kind of like shoegazy, atmospheric, almost kind of alternative at times. And it presents itself in these like very clean, like softly picked chords and echoey lead work, but still has a very dark, kind of bleak mood to it. I'm pretty sure there's some kind of like background synths going on as well.
Yeah.
Because there's a real kind of like almost kind of cinematic feel to the track. Makes it sound quite industrial in its delivery. There were moments on Till Death that put me in mind of like moments on like Crueler by Author and Punisher, also Godflesh at times as well. Just in that kind of like speeds and the kind of electronic drums they add in, and that like there's a kind of heavy kind of miserable feeling that sits in the background of the tracks. And I think like that's the thing with Regeneration. It is a fairly kind of slow burn album. Like these tracks, they don't ever come out the gate with like fast tempos, or there's no blast beats here. That's what I'm saying. But that's like to say, it's not colossally heavy, because it is like the riffs on this are huge and a kind of drony, kind of pummeling kind of way. But weirdly, they're not the main focus either. They feel like almost like the foundations, along with these really like pounding drums that creates a lot of momentum and the kind of mood of the tracks. on top of that, you've then got a vocalist in Amber Gardner, who, to me, adds a lot of what was quite daunting for me on first listen. But ultimately, what is also very unique about this album, her voice is very absorbing, incredibly kind of haunting at times, but can also be very jarring and kind of atonal as well. It's a vocal style and delivery. It kind of took me a couple of listens to fully kind of welcome it. But once I realized like her the different styles that she has almost kind of like counterpart each other, I kind of started to enjoy it a lot more. As I said, that kind of third listen, everything seemed to kind of click for me. There are tracks on here that have a real like melancholic kind of vocal melody that will get stuck in your head, quite intoxicating. It's quite similar to like Subrosa in a way. And then there are some tracks that make you feel more kind of uncomfortable as you sit through them. Tracks like Handless Maiden, which doesn't really give you much of a hook at all, but it's just like this kind of churning like 3.5 minutes of sludge-soaked dirge with like the background noises and Amber's kind of screaming over the top. It comes in quite an interesting place though, because it sits kind of right in that middle spot, and there's the last track on side A of the vinyl. Try Duncan. These days, but I think that track worked.
One review it took you to become that guy.
Yeah,
I literally, I was like, I wonder how long he becomes that. How long it happens before he becomes that guy? You've had the thing in your house a day.
Yeah. One day I've won the turntable for, and already vinyl references everywhere. But yeah, it works as a really good lead-in to track 5, which is Eyes Open, which is like the start of side B of the vinyl. It has a lot more going on kind of texturally in the vocals, and overall the kind of structure of the track is different as well. I really like the inclusion of the piano on that track. Actually, I think the piano melody against Amber's vocals, it almost feels like a bit menacing at times, but it also makes the chorus really stand out on that track. The atmospheric side of the band is awesome. Like that when they come out with Generate, I thought it sounded incredible, especially the kind of dual vocal lines. And the album closer, The Wounded Healer, I found it a touch long. But I thought it did encompass kind of everything that they do well, all in kind of one track, which kind of gives you something that'll make you feel equally uneasy as it does kind of uplifting. Again, the vocals are very well kind of sculpted, going from something very angelic to like almost completely unhinged at times. But I loved all the layering they did at the kind of end of the track. That was really cool.
The end is just like
it's a very strange, discombobulating first listen. This album, just throwing in random words. But an album that does become more rewarding as you give it repeat listens, and it's very difficult to kind of liken them to another band that sounds like this. Their style is quite unique. I did go back and I listened to the 2021 EP, Bloodfeather, which actually has 3 of the tracks that are on Regeneration, but they sound like completely improved on the album. Like the production, like sonically, it sounds massive on this album compared to the EP.
That's the one thing I never really fully touched on, is the production on this is fucking
lovely, really nice production. The texture and the tones, the atmosphere is really, really well captured. Everything just sounds bigger here, more monolithic, and even the band themselves, I think they sound far more proficient on this release. Amber especially, I think her confidence and her precision on the album and her delivery on the album is just much improved on Regeneration. Initially I was a little bit kind of unsure about this, but over time it definitely grew on me to a point where I could listen to the whole album and just kind of enjoy it for what it was. Scores. What we're thinking score-wise for this one, Regeneration by GUHTS. What are you thinking?
It's a 5. I love this. I like first listen, I was all in.
Yeah.
Subsequent listens have just reaffirmed that I have the better taste in music between the two of us. Yeah, like this to me is, it's. I think you may have worded it. I mentioned a lot of bands. You may easily rhyme off that. Like you fucking unfurl a scroll of bands names that are kind of, there's parts that remind you of or bits that are similar in, but GUHTS are their own thing.
Yeah.
And they are in a genre where it's very difficult to differentiate a lot of bands, and they've just done it with what seems like relative ease. Like that, like I would instantly recognize this band, like within seconds.
Yeah.
Like hugely interesting. Yeah, we need to get them over here. Don't know how we do
for sure.
that. But we need to go and see. This would be fucking mesmeric live. So yeah, it's 5.
Wow.
I think it may be the first one I've given out this year. I dare say I may give out 1 or 2 more this year. But as it stands just now, it's my favourite thing I've heard this year.
Wowzers. Wowzers?
Wowzers, what, like,
That's a word I never used.
You sound discombobulated, Dave.
A wee bit.
Dave combobulated. Who stank? Right, let's look.
I think this is an album that I would probably need to be in the mood for. I don't imagine it's one I'm just going to kind of stick on randomly. But there's something about it that keeps kind of wanting me to come back to it. It felt very conflicting at first, but every new listen I give it, I find something else that I really like about it.
This is this year's King Women, Dave. I'm telling you. You're starting to, I've heard these sentences before, and at the end of the year, like that. Let me tell you a little story about a band called GUHTS. And I'll be like, what the fuck, Dave?
I'm not quite up there with yourself. I'm a 4 out of 5 on this one.
4? How did I get off this? How did I get out of this chicken suit outfit? What the fuck is going on here? 4. 4. Are you on a golf course right now? What the fuck's happening?
My first listen, I was a 2.5, so I've come up quite a bit. You know what to say, Duncan. Yeah, I never made it as a wise man. You know what I mean?
So don't make me throw things at you.
The new album from GUHTS, Regeneration, drops on January 26th on New Heavy Sounds and Seeing Red Records. Links below to the band and the pre-order. Have a little listen, see what you think. Stick some comments in once you've had a listen. That is our review. Thank you for checking it out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Oh, we're getting the hearts.
Yeah, because it's 5 stars. So
all right, okay.
Hearts.
Fair enough.